Good evening, YouTube. This is Kaylin Stern coming at you with my regular Sunday night dinner. And I got this ration that was sent to me in a box of other goodies. And shortly before going live, I did double check. This site is this CustomMREs.net is no longer active. I don't know how long they've been out of business, but I still wanted to go ahead and bring this to you. So I've had this for a little while. This is in a Mylar bag. It lists pretty much all of the contents, I believe. This could be a 12-hour ration if you spread it out over a longer period of time. It does not say anything about an accessory pack. I cut it open with a pair of scissors because I want to have a clean top, a clean open. So right off the top, there is a piece of paper. It just has instructions on how to prepare those items that need to be prepared. I have a kettle of water on the stove that's coming up to a boil. Here is the bag. It is an empty bag that you would prepare the ramen in. I'm going to set that over off to the side. And there appears to be what is like a vacuum seal bag that has everything else. So that leaves the ration bag empty. Now, because everything is sealed inside of this vacuum seal bag, because I'm going to cut it, I can reuse this bag if I wanted to vacuum seal something in it. So it appears we have an accessory bag in a Ziploc bag. Here is a sweet and salty trail mix, a box of raisins, a really tiny meat stick, what they did was, looks like they sourced some of these things from Walmart because that says great value on that little tiny meat stick. Here is one of those single serve or travel packs of Ritz crackers. And this is the top ramen chicken flavor. The toaster pastries. It looks like what they did was they just sourced from Walmart and then just put everything into the bag. Here is a sweet and salty granola bar. A Walmart Great Value version of Rice Krispie treat. The only thing that's not Walmart branded is this peach mango drink powder. That's going into the drinking jar. And then this is the Great Value potted meat. And I suspect it has pork in it. It does, so there's a WeVac brand of the vacuum seal bag. So because that is a pork product, I'll be substituting this Underwood chicken spread. I'm going to move some of these things aside, and because I want to do this on camera, I'm not going to use that black bag for the ramen. I'm going to do it in this bowl, and I have a plate that I will put on top of it. There is no coffee in here yet, but I have not opened the accessory pack. What I want to do is get the ramen going first. There is no pack date on the outside of this bag, so everything will have a best by date. And usually the item with the date that is closest coming up will be the date that's put on the outside of the bag. And these are all civilian products. As usual, I have the stream up on my tablet so I can see the chat. DeCarlos Perry's here, Multi-Magnum's here. Those are the only two names I see so far. I'm going to go ahead and get the water for the ramen, and I'm having G7 coffee. I'll be right back with that. I'm just going to put this on top like that. I'm doing a double shot of the G7, so that's why the delicious mug is so full. I'll show you what is in the accessory pack while we wait. A small folded napkin, most likely taken from a larger pack. Individually wrapped spoon and fork. A Purell hand sanitizing wet wipe. Small packet of salt. A single lifesaver. I'm putting these on top of that upended plate so that they show up. And two different hot sauces. One is mild. This one is mild. And this one is hot. So because it says I mean ... it means very, very hot. This meat stick, because it came out of a larger pack, I have no idea what the ingredients are. I don't know if this is a beef stick. The outer bag, the ration bag, just says meat stick. Now this says here, besides a couple of others, not labeled for individuals sale. There's nothing on the back. So again, I don't know if this is beef or if it has pork in it as well. Just like the potted meat, it has chicken and pork. Don't know how well you can read that, but so if anyone has seen this particular pack of the meat stick from Walmart, if you're in the chat and you're seeing this now, you can go ahead and tell me live if this has pork in it. So I will be leaving that off. I have had this drink mix once before. In fact, one of my sisters brought a box of assorted drink mixes like this to the lake. These are designed to go in a standard 500 ml or 16.9 ounce water bottle. So I took my pink 750 ml capacity bottle. So I put 2 of those together in there. Because this has an artificial sweetener and not a whole lot of powder, it won't take long for this to mix up. I tend to like these mixed a little strong anyway. Spicy Tuna Rolls is here. Thanks for dropping in. This is that civilian ration from another ration company that is no longer in business. No menu number, no pack date. It just says best before August of 25. So I will open up everything else. I should probably move the Ritz crackers over to this other side. In fact, I'll just go ahead and do that. Because these were actually triple layered in their packaging, the outer bag, the vacuum seal bag, plus that sleeve. I'm not too worried about the crumbs. The crackers may actually have held up. There's a sweet and salty trail mix. This is your standard Sun-made raisin box. This particular box has a logo for it's got the word will on it, so apparently there was some kind of a word game back when this box was filled for ABC Mouse. I don't know if that is still in existence or not. Until I had seen this bag, I had never heard of this particular company before. I'm not aware of anyone else reviewing these on YouTube. This bar here took a bit of a hit, but I'm going to put that here with the raisins for now. This Rice Krispie treat here also got a little smashed. But again, being that these are packed the way that they were, I don't think I should have any issues with that. Again, there's some crumbs from the crackers in there, so don't mind those. These Pop-Tarts are probably going to be a bit smashed as well. These are the cookies and cream flavor. In fact, actually, I think what I may do, I'm going to move these crackers into here because I'm going to leave the ramen in the bowl. And I'll put the Pop-Tarts over here. Now, because I'm not using this bag, this will stay clean. This is not a gusseted bag, but I can still use it to repackage other food in. So I'm just going to stick it back inside of the ration bag. And because the inside of this is clean, I can reuse it as well. Last thing to open is this, which is my substitution for the potted meat. I'm putting the trash into a Walgreens bag since I'm keeping the ration bag. Now it's time to take this away. This is how I do ramen at home anyway. There are no spreads in here, so I'm assuming that you would eat the crackers with the potted meat. So I will slide, actually I'm going to slide this tray just a little closer, because I want to have everything in view. Prepper for the ages is here. Cold War Prepper. Thanks for dropping in. Again, this is a civilian ration from a company that is no longer in business. No menu number. I had never seen this company before. Again, the potted meat, and that's just, a lot of these were sourced at Walmart. This meat stick has nothing on there to indicate what kind of meat. So it came out of a larger pack, and they just put them individual sticks into the bag and vacuum sealed. And this is the brand of bag that they use to vacuum seal the contents before putting them inside of this bag. It's actually pretty darn clever packaging. It possibly kept things in here from going bad sooner than they otherwise would have. I'm going to go ahead and take a bite of the chicken ramen. Not a single thing wrong with that. Again, last week I was at my family's favorite Iowa lake, Lake Icaria. I could not get a good enough signal out there to try to put up any of the shorts. I tried, but just too far away from the nearest tower to grab any signal, even with my hotspot. So I just waited till I got home this past Friday, and then I uploaded them all. Even uploading a picture or two pictures to either Facebook or a YouTube post, that took hours just to upload a picture. So apparently no new towers have been added closer to the park. There may be one on the opposite side of Corning. That's the town that is actually listed as the address for the Lake Icaria County Park. And these are sun-made raisins. The boxes came out of multi-packs that were just separated. Same with the Ritz cracker stacks. Now, the trail mix was not great value. It was another brand, but I bet, like everything else, sourced from Walmart. But what this does, I think it gives people an idea of what you can do to create a custom ration with probably about the same shelf life as a standard USMRE or other civilian ration, and you can customize it to your liking. There are quite a number of videos of different YouTubers putting together their own custom rations. I did too, and I sent them off to a couple of other YouTubers. I sent one to Gundog and one to Smokey. But nowhere near all the items that were in this. So someone asked me in a messenger chat if this could be 12-hour, and I thought, with all the list of items in here, you could stretch it out to a 12-hour period. Now, because you got two protein sources, well, actually, yeah, two protein sources with the potted meat and this little meat stick. Plus, you got protein in the nuts, and there are nuts in this bar. There may be a minuscule amount in the ramen, in the chicken seasoning packet. The only thing that was lacking would be a coffee. But you buy boxes or bags of instant coffee, where they're like just the straight up black coffee or 3-in-1. You could throw one or two of those into your custom ration, just like the drink powders, and call it good. I do buy these occasionally. This may not look appetizing, but for a quick protein snack, it will work. Dip your cracker in it. Or because this is chicken, if I wanted, I could put that into the ramen. Kind of like this. This definitely would not need the salt packet. Although it would have been nice if they would have put a pepper packet in here. But again, when you make your own, you can get some packets, throw them in yourself. Took by V is here. Thanks for dropping in. That definitely makes this taste more like chicken. Again, for those coming in late, this great value meat stick has nothing to indicate what kind of meat it is, so I have no idea. I normally don't buy these little things at Walmart, so I do not know whether or not this has pork in it, or if it's beef or what. So I'm leaving that off. And the potted meat does have pork in it, so that's why I got the Underwood chicken spread. But the potted meat and the meat stick will get passed on to someone else. I may make up a custom ration and either send it off to someone or as a giveaway item. When I do hit 1,500 subscribers, I will do a giveaway. And I will do what others do. Once I hit that, I may wait till I'm actually sustaining that and not having subscribers taken away shortly right after I hit 1,500 and then have to gain those back. But in my past giveaways, I would have a pretty good box of stuff, survival items, first aid items, things of that nature. I will just have to find a box that I can put one of the items in that I want to include. So I will just have to measure that item for width and then go to a post office and see what boxes are available that match that. Seth Dev, welcome. I hope I'm saying that name. I'm just taking a wild guess at it. I do these live ration review streams every Sunday at 7 p.m. Central U.S. time. I'm in Iowa. I was gone last week because last Sunday I headed out to Lake Icaria with my family. Unfortunately, it was so hot and humid the first 3 days, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, that I didn't even go fishing. Not all of us did. But Wednesday and Thursday, of course, then the air quality started to take a dive. And Friday when we came back, it was at the worst I had seen it since the last round of Canadian wildfire smoke that we got down here. It was in just a straight up unhealthy category, which has a number above 150 on the air quality index, which is pretty much unhealthy for everybody and very unhealthy for people who are sensitive to such things. But I checked a few hours ago and we're back down into the good category as far as air quality, so I'm happy about that. From my experience, the French produce the best rations, the best quality of food, the best flavor. The Chilean duff, they're not too bad, but I think the French do it the best. I have had several Norwegian Arctic field rations. I have enjoyed every single one of those. There are some menus that I would like to try that I haven't. And as far as I know, they might do a wet ration, but I have never seen them come up as available for purchase anywhere. I did enjoy the Latvian ration that I reviewed some time back. I've always enjoyed the Polish rations. Tim Riley is here. Thanks for dropping in. If you hear any faint meowing, my cat is down here going underneath my chair. I don't know if she smells my chicken spread. But she is down there, definitely wanting some attention. So she may show up on camera just to the left edge of my table. That is Pumpkin. She is, I'm guessing, around 6 years old or 8 years old. I've had her for 4 years. She came to me in like 21 or 22. She could be almost 7, I think. She did not come the year of that August derecho that shredded a good chunk of Iowa back in 2020. So it was after that. I just had Mila, my tuxedo cat, which will always remain my profile picture for all of my social media and other accounts where I can have a profile picture. I'm going to put a little bit more of this into the ramen. One thing about the Ritz crackers, they are a bit fragile, so they will still tend to break. Again, this one did not come with coffee, so I have G7 in my delicious cup. And this is peach mango in the drinking jar. It's one of the Dole brand instant drink mixes, and they're really good. For an artificially sweetened drink mix, it doesn't have the strong artificial sweetener aftertaste, which is nice. This mix has raisins, it's got peanuts, M&Ms, sunflower kernels, and cashews. I'm going to try peanut, see how it is. They're roasted, salted. They may have lost a little bit of their flavor, but I'm not getting that numbness in my mouth like you would when you bite into something that goes rancid. Same with the cashews. They're perfectly fine. Yeah, it's odd. When I open a can of tuna, she doesn't give a flip. She could care less about it. But when I open chicken, most of the time, she is definitely interested. Oddly enough, the chicken chunks, the last time I opened up a pouch of the chicken chunks, she must have been too dead to the world to care, because she did not come running into the kitchen. Wednesday, since Wednesday when it cooled down here in Iowa, it has felt nice. Not quite so humid. Of course, out at the lake when there's no breeze, then the bugs are still after you. We tried a DIY fly trap, but the recipe that we used works best for fruit flies. For your common house fly, the vinegar with a couple of drops of dish soap and even some peach in the bottom, that really wasn't enough to draw in those flies. Now, if it were fruit flies, yeah, those things would be filling that up in a hurry. We had a couple of citronella candles, but they really weren't doing much. They probably work best on mosquitoes. But insect repellent was definitely your friend, as are long sleeves. You know, I wear long sleeves all the time anyway. But I still managed to get a bug bite, a couple of them on my face. You know, my ankle above where my sock stops. But more so when I was in front of the cabin. But when I was sitting by the edge of by the water's edge, I didn't get bothered so much. That, I watched that one. Very, very interesting, to say the least. How the heck he got a hold of that one? He must have pulled some strings to get that. Try out a few of these sun-made raisins. They taste perfectly fine. They're soft. I thought they would be a bit hard, but they're soft enough where it took some effort to get them out of the box, because they're never put in any kind of an inner packaging before they're put in those little boxes. I guess they figured those are going to be eaten up pretty fast soon after purchase. And that's the peach mango drink mix from Dole. Now this also has a raisin. Actually, I think just the raisin that was on top of it. This frosted layer down here looks like it took some heat stress, but it has the sweet, it's got the salty. There's nothing wrong with it. If you have not watched Steve 1989's latest video of that prototype MRE with the first generation retort pouch that was in a box instead of the brown bag, you definitely want to check it out. Some of it was not consumable, unfortunately, but it was still very interesting to watch. Some of the components were carryovers from the MCI, but you got to check that video out just to see how interesting that thing really was. I'm just gonna take up a handful, throw in some of the sunflower kernels in there. That's a good trail mix. That has nothing wrong with it. Yeah, that's what it said, that some MCIs are still being issued after the MREs came out because they wanted to use up that older stock. Yeah, he showed an MCI can. Yeah, some of the showed an MCI box to compare the different components. He did not open any of them, just took the cans out of the box, showed the spoon and the accessory pack. But this prototype MRE, like I said, it had carryovers from the MCI. But you got to go check that video out. It is very interesting. I would love to know how the heck he got a hold of that. Things like that are extremely rare to find in the condition that one was in. There's Waffles in the house. Thanks for dropping in. This is the ration that I said I would open up after I get back from the lake. So inside of that Mylar bag was this bag. And because everything was contained inside of these, I can reuse this vacuum seal bag. And I can reuse this outer bag here. And the instructions said to prepare the ramen in this bag, but I chose not to do that. I chose to do it in a bowl simply because I thought it would make for a better visual. So I can use that bag for food storage because I kept it clean. So I'm putting all of my trash into a Walgreens bag for disposal. This came with this potted meat, which is pork. So I've substituted the Underwood chicken spread. This meat stick came out of a larger pack of who knows how many. So there's nothing on here that says what kind of meat it is, so that's why I did not open it up. I have no idea. So if anyone knows, if they've seen this particular meat stick, this great value, inside of its original box, and you know what the meat content is, I would certainly appreciate it. That's why I did not open that meat stick up, because I have no way of knowing. By the way, I put some of the Underwood chicken spread into the ramen. The accessory pack contained no coffee, so I'm having G7. The drink mix is a Dole brand peach mango, and that's a very good flavor. I like the combination of those flavors. I nipped a couple of those that my oldest sister brought to the lake, and I just mixed them up in my 750 ml water bottle. I threw some ice in there and just shook the heck out of it. Called it good. This is called Cookies and Cream. So it's the chocolate. Again, that came out of a larger box. All of these items, this CustomMREs.net, which is no longer a business, by the way, I did check. The person who put these together sourced a lot of the stuff from Walmart, because you could tell by the packaging, most of it said great value. This sweet and salty granola bar has great value. Those are True Ritz. The nut raisin, the trail mix is branded. It's not great value. The Rice Krispie treat is great value. It looks a little bit different in color than your standard Rice Krispies branded treat. This looks a little bit more yellow. In fact, it's about the color of the Ritz cracker. But they took a bit of a hit, so this is starting to fall apart. not as densely packed as the original Rice Krispies bar. This is a little bit looser, but again, it may have had some heat stress. And from being sealed inside of that vacuum seal bag, fortunately it was not a tight vacuum seal that the more delicate items like this Pop-Tart or Rice Krispie treat and the crackers didn't get all smashed. Also, well, thanks for looking that up, Waffles. I kind of suspected it might be a pork. This one contains chicken and pork. And this is great value. I have no idea how it would compare to the Armour brand of potted meat. But again, both of these will be passed on to someone else. This is the Underwood chicken spread. I bought this specifically to have with this ration because when the bag said potted meat, I have never seen this not contain pork. So I figured the Underwood chicken spread is probably the closest I could come to matching that. There's a lot of oil in this, so it's probably not as dense as the potted meat. But this is something that I do occasionally eat. You get some crackers that are a little bit more stout than this, but you could dip this easily. You can dip these Ritz into there. It's not a problem. I seriously doubt that it could be roadkill. It would have to be super sterilized beyond usability. Plus, there's enough meat that you wouldn't have to go that far. Now, this Underwood chicken spread is fairly salty. But for, occasional consumption, it wouldn't be too bad. Now, in another country with much looser quality standards, yeah, probably something could have come off the side of the road or out of a field. I'm gonna have some more of this. I would suspect that this was probably packed in let's see, I'm gonna use this can for an example. Best buy date on this potted meat is April of 26. So this could have been packed in 21 or 22. This Cars trail mix. Let's see. July 16th of 25 is the best buy date on this. From what I can tell on the Rice Krispie treat, I think it says it's either 5 or 6, so it could be May or June of 25. Well, this has the shortest best buy date, February 26th of 25 on the ramen. So they may have put, let's see, this says best before August of 25. So they put the longest date instead of what a lot of them do is put the earliest best buy date of an item on the outside of the bag to gauge when it should be inspected or used. Now, because this Underwood chicken spread was a recent purchase, it's obviously not past the best buy date. I don't want to spill it, so I've tried to look at it upside down on the bottom, but like I said, I purchased this last month, or maybe in June, to use with this ration, so. But everything else in here is absolutely fine. Again, the fact that the person who packed this layered the packaging, that protected everything in here from going bad sooner. I have not used anything from the accessory pack because definitely does not need the salt. And I wasn't in the mood to put hot sauce in here. Although I could have, I just didn't feel like doing it. So whoever started this was very clever. And the fact that they included the sheet now this is a list of their different menus because it has instructions for several items. There's an oatmeal, a breakfast one, instant potato, and some of these may have included a ration heater, where this one did not. And there's one for a gravy, possibly to go with the potatoes. So they probably put this same list in every single one of the bags. It would be interesting to find out when this person started this. You know, did they do this back in 2020 when everything was going sideways and backwards at the same time, or before then, or later than that? Or if it was just not very profitable. I'd be curious to know how much was originally paid for one of these, or if it varied by menu. But again, as I said earlier, it's a great idea. It gives you all kinds of ideas on creating your own custom ration. Just had another drink of the coffee. So I do have to give the person who started this props for coming up with something like this. It's a shame that they're not around, to continue this. But it's like other companies that have come and gone. Emery House, which to me looked like an Emery Mountain clone, apparently is no longer in business, because I tried to go onto their website and it came up as cannot be reached or not available. Just like when I tried to look up the CustomMREs.net, that came up nothing. But all Emery's is still around. Of course, Emery Mountain is still around. As far as other sites, I don't know of any that are specifically for rations. Of course, Thrive Life freeze-dried foods is selling out, and they're closing up shop at the end of this month, or before, if their current inventory sells out. So I placed an order, and then I checked it. Some of the items that I had ordered were already out of stock and will not be shipped, so I made some changes, and I did not have to submit a new payment, so we'll see what happens with that. But another source of high quality long-term storage food is going away. So those who are affiliates or consultants, they earned a little bit of income off of that, so they will have to find a replacement for that little bit of income that they earned off of that. In fact, one of the channel that got me introduced to Thrive, I won a giveaway which included a Thrive item. He was a consultant, so I was ordering through his particular storefront, so to speak. But then after he died, a relative and his wife took all of that over, including the YouTube channel, although they have not posted any content recently. But all of the affiliates and what they do with that is all that money goes to his widow. So his name was George Cox. But you know him as George Iridium 242. But all of those affiliate links, all that money gets given to her. So anything that would have been earned off of my final Thrive order will go to her. That's how they set this up, because they want to support her. You know, make sure that she can have as comfortable a life as possible. So I was happy to stick with them. Thanks for dropping in, Waffles. I'll check by V. If there's anything left, you better jump on it now, because some of the items that I had initially ordered, I did it Friday night, we came home from the lake Friday afternoon, and then I decided to go ahead and drop an order on Thrive. So at the time that I ordered, those things that I had selected were in stock, but then when I checked it this morning, some of those items had already gone out of stock before my box could be packed. So I deleted those items and I went and picked a few others, and I chose that ship as a delivery customer. So I paid a little bit less, but because my Friday order had not been packed yet, I was able to add these items to the existing order, and I probably just made an adjustment and I did not have to send in an additional payment. Well, there you go. That's the way you do it. So I wouldn't be surprised if the couple that took over from George Cox is probably doing the same thing. They will, unless they have already given that money to George's widow. I have no idea how they're doing it with this, but they are still an affiliate of Freestar Wholesalers, and they still have the Amazon affiliates, and they're still an affiliate of My Patriot Supply. So they're keeping those going. And who knows, they may find others. But then again, I have not seen any new content from Meridium 242 channel in quite some time, so they just may be busy doing family things. I don't have any such affiliates. I got an email from some company wanting me to test something that has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm into. They wanted me to test some kind of a product that are for those who are into the kind of beauty products that I'm not into. And there's one that I spammed that wanted me to, a men's hair care. Like, nope. I don't need that crap. So I marked both of those as spam, so hopefully I won't hit any more from them. I don't get as many of those solicitations as I used to. I know some have gotten into trouble with Amazon for quote unquote buying reviews. And the last one of those I got, it was sent during the summer. It was for an ice fishing rod, nothing else to go with it, no reel, no ice fishing tackle or anything like that. And I said, this is summer here in Iowa. It'll be months before I go out. Plus, I don't have access to a place where I could go ice fishing even if I wanted to because I don't drive. But then that email, last time I tried to send an email, it was returned undeliverable. So I basically got a 2-piece ice fishing rod. I did buy a reel. I did buy some ice fishing tackle to go with it. Not the line yet. So that reel has no line on it, but I ended up with a rod that I currently can't use. So what I will probably do with it is put regular fishing line on it. Maybe your standard monofilament, maybe 10, 12 pound test line on it. And that could be like an emergency fishing rod that even at full length is shorter than either the 2 segments for my Zebco rod that breaks down into 2 sections that I can put inside of my rod bag. I could put the ice fishing rod assembled in there and it would still be shorter than either one of those 2 Zebco segments. But I'm just choosing not to do that. And then one other time, the backpack, that was such a poor quality backpack, it was defective. They sent me another one. It had even worse problems. So I ended up returning both in the same package. You can keep this. This is bad. It's not well designed. It's poorly made. I mean, it looks nice. But it was not worth the price they would have charged for it. Thanks for dropping in. So I will catch up on Cold War Preppers next stream on Monday, since I missed the last one while I was out at the lake. I'm not even going to try to catch up on all of the channels that I normally watch. I'm just picking a few here and there. And if I don't watch all of the videos I missed on the day they were originally uploaded, yeah, so be it. I hope everybody is enjoying the shorts that I put up. had to correct the title on one because I put the title of another short, and nope, that's not the one with the geese, that's the one with the squirrel. So I fixed that one. But I didn't get over to my dad's bench. I really should have. I just didn't take the time to go over there. I didn't do it last year, but the year before and the year before that I did. I tell about a couple years after my dad passing in November of '08, my mom paid Adams County Parks Department a certain amount of money to have his name put on one of the memorial benches that surround the lake. And every year they add a couple more. So the more recent ones are like a wood looking plastic composite, and then the older ones are actual wood benches. But they maintain those benches. The wood ones will get refinished every few years. And the older name plates will probably get replaced. But although I did not see when, yeah, we're already booked for next year. I don't know if one of my sisters, who usually does the booking, has done it for 2027. Everybody was having a hard time getting good signal or getting a payment to process. But with the cabins, you still have to book at least 2 years in advance, especially if you want a similar time frame as what you're accustomed to doing. The tent and RV sites, you don't have to book so far in advance. There are plenty of RV sites open, at least in the section that we passed through to get to the 2 cabins that we use. We use one cabin that is inaccessible, meaning you don't have to go up steps to get into it. It has an accessible bathroom with a fold down shower seat and then handrails in both the shower and around the toilet. But they'd replace the doors with doors that have code boxes instead of a key. So you don't use a key to get into the cabins. You are given a code. But you can flick the lock on the inside so you don't have to use a code every time you want to go into the cabin. You just lock it when you leave it for a time and no one is going to be there. Then you'd use the code, but otherwise you can just leave it unlocked. Of course, we lock it at night. But Monday night we did have to we did drop the canopy down because there was some strong winds. But it did hold. Part of the frame did get bent, but it did hold. Yeah, there is some pretty strong winds, but the heat and humidity the first 3 days, yeah, that was pretty unbearable. I had some electrolyte drink powder, so I used a few of those. The ones I use are the Under Armour, the kind of like Liquid IV, but they're lemon lime flavor. And that one actually does not taste too bad. If you mix it pretty strong, you can definitely taste the saltiness of it. But if you do mix it a little bit weaker, you lose the lemon lime flavor, but it doesn't taste quite so salty. But I did mix up a few of those. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, when it comes to feeding a cat, I use a feeder that holds one of those 3-pound, 3.15-pound bags of cat food. The one that I have can hold a full one of those. And when I just had Mila, that's how I was buying the food. I would empty the whole bag into that thing. And that usually lasted her about a month. Then when I still had Mila after I got Pumpkin, I decided to go up to the 13-pound bag because otherwise the smaller ones would not have lasted me. They would have just lasted 2 weeks. So, but after Mila crossed the Rainbow Bridge, I'm refilling that thing every 3 weeks. And that works out pretty good. My crusher in the house. Sorry about that. Again, sorry about the mug busting. I hated that. Pumpkin. Yeah, pumpkin is pumpkin is down there. Sorry about that. It's her tail. She's below my chair. She can be a needy cat sometimes. But I love that cat. That's right, Pumpkin. Talking about you. Talking about you, Pumpkin. I'm talking about you, Pumpkin. Yeah, buying stuff like that, like fishing tackle. Out of season. Out of season, after season. Like buying winter clothes in the summer, summer clothes in the winter. You can usually get better better deals. Those items that I did buy for the ice fishing rod, I bought those in the summer, so I got a good deal on them. These Pop-Tarts are fused together just like the ones you get in the USMREs. edge of the crust is quite dry, but I'm not going to try to separate those. Goes good with the coffee, though. When I came back in, it took Pumpkin a while because I was bringing my stuff in after my sister who brought me home helped me carry my stuff up the steps. We always overpack. Of course, then again, I tend to pack a little more as far as clothes. I want to be prepared in case I have to change. If I got thoroughly drenched in rain or something like that. I guess I just want to be prepared. In fact, I took that first aid kit that I showed in that little Walgreens haul where I used my spending allowance that I got from my health insurance. I got into that first aid kit because my mom needed a bandage change. And I said, I got a packet of the antibiotic ointment, and because she had a couple of sore spots, used the entire packet on those spots, put fresh bandages on them, and she was good to go. But I added to that kit, I put a metal pair of tweezers in there because I didn't have one. So that's one thing I did add to it. But that kit did come in handy. In fact, that hand sanitizer wipe that's in the accessory pack that came out of this ration may go into that first aid kit. That's probably what I'll do with it. Yeah, I get my base amount every 3 months or every quarter, but then I can do certain activities and earn additional rewards. So, for instance, one says you get your flu shot, you can earn a reward. You do what's called your annual wellness check or whatever they call it, you get a reward. You do physical activity, you get a reward. And then you can use that all accumulates onto the card. And where they done it for this year's, they made it so you can swipe the card like you would any other debit or credit card or EBT card. So it acts like or a gift card, and it acts like a debit card, except you don't put in a PIN or anything like that. And then whatever you spend up to the available balance, you can use on qualifying products. It has to be, and the stores usually list what kinds of products are eligible for this benefit. And then because I went to Walgreens, I have their balance reward, so I earn some rewards for whatever I spend. Of course, it doesn't work for prescriptions, but I don't get my prescriptions there anyway because the store I used to go to closed up a couple years ago. So I switched to a Hy-Vee store that's by the Dart bus station. That's the city bus station. I wanted that proximity to the bus station since I have to go there to change buses to go to different places anyway. So I just choose there. But Walgreens, I can still earn a balance reward. Several years ago, they changed it from points to a dollar amount. Just like the health insurance spending allowance. Then you get to, when you accumulate enough of the balance reward, or whatever it is, either from CVS or whatever store has it, then you can use that to pay over what the balance is. So I could use 15 at $15. It has to be like a $1, $2, $5, or $10, or a maximum of $20 of balance reward you can spend at any one time. But I could do 15, so I was able to use that, and that allowed me to add couple of additional items. So that's why I had all the items that I did. But of course, that coffee came from Hy-Vee. I had cash left over from when I got my new ID, because my last one expired at the end of last year, and I was able to renew it last month. I could have done it sooner, I just didn't. but I used some cash to buy that little can of coffee at a Hy-Vee, and then so I just showed that can in that same video. I bought that after I did my main shopping haul video. Check with their health insurance to see if they have some kind of a spending allowance like that. Some providers have it, some don't. But if you don't know about it, it's definitely worth checking into to see if your health insurance has that kind of a benefit. And if you find out it does, use it, because that can help you add to your medical preps and certain qualifying supplements and some hygiene type stuff. It all depends on what that particular program allows you to use it on. Some people get a higher spending allowance than I do. Some may not get as much. Some you have to order through their site and have it shipped. Others, mine used to be that way, but then they allowed you to order through Walmart, and then they changed it again where you can actually go into either a Walmart or a pharmacy like Walgreens, CVS. And I even used it once in Hy-Vee, although I prefer to stick to Walgreens. I don't get to CVS much. I would have to take 2 buses to get to a CVS. Whereas I only need to take 1 to get to a Walgreens. Or I can take 2 depending on where I'm going. And I definitely do encourage people to check out that kind of a benefit, because every little bit helps, especially with prices the way they are these days. My nose is catching the scent of something burning. I'm going to check something. Just opened the door enough to take a sniff, but I couldn't smell it. anything in the hall. Of course, I shut my stove off when I took my kettle off to put the water into my bowl for my ramen and the mug for my coffee, so I don't know if it's just coming up through the floor from below or if it's coming under the door. I'm not sure what, but I didn't get enough of a sniff in the hall. Plus, I didn't want Pumpkin to get out in the hall. Yeah, I had home care clients who went through a lot of wound care supplies, a lot of gauze, a lot of tape, because of the nature of the wounds and some diabetics, they have wounds that take a lot longer to heal. So that was a lot more wound cleaning and dressing changes. So I have a fair amount of that stuff stashed away, but I will add more over time. And then I'm running out of places to stick that stuff because my apartment is so small. I would love to have access to an off-site storage location that can be secured all the time. Problem with the storage locker is I don't drive and I can't carry very much at one time by bus. So it would take multiple trips. Now it would take multiple days just to get a few of my buckets over there. And some of my buckets, especially for my pasta, rice and grains and beans, those are the heaviest buckets. And I have some totes that are full of food as well. It would take 2 people to carry them down the steps because, I bought the totes, I placed them, and then I filled them. And then when I had to have all my stuff moved out, those totes got repositioned, and it was the workers who came in to move my stuff around so that my apartment could be dried out and then repaired and then repainted. And they're the ones who put them in different places, but I really don't want to empty them, then just have to fill them back up again. But I would love to get some of my preps out of here and into a safe location that I wouldn't have to worry about fire damage, storm damage. You know, a place that is secured 24/7, so that if something were to happen to what I have here, I still had supplies to fall back on. Thanks for dropping in. And Took by Me has gone out for the night. I hope to see him back here next week. I'm still thinking about my next one. I have one Canadian IMP that is older than the other two, so I might go after that one next week. I'm not sure. But after my apartment got flooded, the maintenance guy who came in to tell me that I had a problem, he basically said, it's a good thing you had a lot of stuff stored in the buckets, otherwise it would have been ruined. You know, don't have a garage here, not that I want to put any food in there anyway. I would put my non-food items like camping stuff in there. Well, we don't have any space like that here. We don't have an internal storage room like in one of the buildings I used to see clients in. They have a resident accessible storage room, and each resident who wants to use it gets a certain amount of shelf space. Of course, they have to label it with their name and apartment number on it. But in that particular building, they have that for some stuff they don't have room for in their apartment, so they could keep extra supplies there. But in my mom's apartment, she has a second bedroom with a bathroom that has a large closet which serves as her pantry. So any of her extra food that she doesn't keep in the kitchen cabinets goes into that pantry. Plus the kitchen cabinets are pretty high. She can't get to the top shelves because she's so short. So that pantry in the guest bathroom, although it's, then she has additional storage in the closet in the spare bedroom, so she keeps a lot of things in there. Well, having a pantry by a bathroom is not the greatest, but because that's a guest bathroom, that's only used by people who visit. If they don't want to use her main bathroom, which is right across from her bedroom, next to where her washer and dryer is. But the apartment has central air, so it's pretty good in there. I don't have that here, so I can't control the air inside of here as much as I could where I lived before. But I had to get out of that place because of stuff that was going on. But I do miss the storage space that I had in there. That one had a pantry, but it was right next to where the heat pump is. That's accessible from the hallway in between my unit and the one on the other side of where the heat pumps are at. That's, natural gas heat. But that gets pretty hot in there. So I really didn't like keeping a lot of food in there because of that. I had another closet that I used for things like tools and other supplies like that. I should have had that as my pantry, and then that other one as my tool closet. But I just don't have that kind of space here. But I have here what I didn't have there, and that was a deck I could put pots on to plant in. I finished off the rum. So I'm dipping the Ritz cracker in my Underwood chicken spread. Underwood makes a canned corned beef that is probably the same consistency as this potted meat, but with not a whole lot of broth added to it. And then they do a deviled ham spread. So just for those who have not seen this brand before, it's a little different than the chicken salad or tuna salad that you'll get in those Bumblebee snack packs. You get about 4 or 5 crackers, a can that's probably a little smaller than this. And then depending on what version of that you get, you might get a packet with a couple of Oreo cookies in it. Or it might have like a single Reese's peanut butter cup in it, or whatever they happen to put in there. I'll probably just use my sport to get the rest of this out of the can anyway. Just thought I'd tell you about that in case you are not familiar with that brand. Some things are available here in Iowa that some may not get in other locations. Taking a drink of the coffee right after taking a bite of this stacked Pop-Tart, it actually helps out because this crust here is pretty dry. They're squished together so you can barely see what's supposed to be the cream and the filling, those thin white lines. That's the way they come when you get a pair of Pop-Tarts out of an American Ration. They're squished together. Now that the USMREs are usually pretty tightly vacuum sealed, that's putting even more of a squeeze on things like that. I was looking around to see if Pumpkin was still in here, but I think she's gone back into the bedroom. Nope, there she is. I thought she'd gone into the bedroom to go sleep like a lazy cat. Now that was her down to my left. Talking about you again, Pumpkin. And it started to say Friday when I came home. It took her a while to decide to come out and see what was going on. After all, she got to spend a few days in here all by herself. or when I had Mila, if I was gone more than a night, I come back, she was right at the door waiting for me. Pumpkin, it's on her own time. If she's asleep when I come in, she may not wake up for a little while. But then when she did wake up, she definitely wanted attention, so she got it. I put down, anytime I'm gone for more than a couple of days, I'll put down a second bowl full of water. So when I came home Friday, the bigger bowl that I put down, which is a little bit bigger capacity than the one that stays there all the time, and I just refresh it more often. That one was dry. And the other one was getting pretty low. She dips her paw and then licks her paw. Sometimes she'll drink like a normal cat. Sometimes she just has to dip her paw in and then lick her paw. I guess that's the way she was when she lived with the people I originally got her from. If she had her way, she would be drinking out of a trickling faucet all the time. But I don't want to run water all the time because that jacks up what I pay for water use. I don't pay the local water utility here directly. I add to my rent payment, and then at the end of the month, some of the extra that I add to my rent payment gets taken for the water use by the landlord. And of course, at the beginning of the month, when I make my rent payment, some of what is included in that goes for pet rent. So I pay a monthly amount for Pumpkin. That just started last year with having to pay pet rent. It used to be you'll get charged a deposit, a pet deposit, and that'll be it. But the pet rent stayed the same. My rent went up a little bit. So, because I never know what my water use is going to be, I like to pad a little extra onto my rent payment. Like for July, my water use is less than $20. 1 week of that, or almost a week, I wasn't here. Well, the last 5 days in July, of course, Sunday morning, I used some water, but then not until I got back home Friday afternoon. And I got pumping some fresh water. But that's just how it works here. Nobody here pays for vehicle parking. But those who own vehicles still have to register them with the management. I don't know if they get stickers that they put in on their cars to show that that vehicle is allowed in the lot. So once in a while I see a tow truck going through here. Not always picking off a vehicle, but occasionally they have. But then again, it may not have been an illegally parked vehicle. It could have been one the owner requested a tow because it wouldn't start or something like that. But that's something I don't have to deal with. One employer I had, they kept wanting to give me a parking lot sticker, but I said, where am I going to put it? I don't drive, I ride buses. What I do is stick it on my access card that I used to get into the building. Well, they didn't want that, but I had trouble getting into the building because my access card wasn't always working. So I had to wait for someone to let me into the building because my card wasn't working. And I think I went through like 3 or 4 of those before I got one that actually worked. And one day, there's a blizzard outside. I started out earlier than I normally do to walk there because where I was living at the time, I could just walk to where I was working. And they go, I'd go in there, say, how'd you get here? And I said, I walked. It may have taken me longer, but I did it. So they're shocked that I showed up for work that day, and a whole bunch of other people didn't. And they still ended up sending pretty much everybody home. Because that storm was actually getting worse. Yeah, we've had some freaky storms in the past year in Iowa, but I think as weather continues to change, it's just going to get freakier. As that old saying goes, one of the few things that's constant is change. But I'm a whole lot better prepared than I was even a few years ago because of the things that I have added, like the Opus Power Station I won last year. And then this year I won an Opus solar panel. The only thing is I can't use it on my deck because it wouldn't pull very many watts because I don't get enough direct sun. I would have to take it down into the parking lot or into the park across the street in order to charge a power station with it. And I would have to sit down there with it while I was charging so they wouldn't get stolen. As that 2020 derecho that smacked Iowa in August of that year, that made me realize that I need to step up my backup power. So the mini power stations that are below 300 watts constant power. So I got those over time. Now I got the Opus. I'm hoping to get one that delivers at least 1,000 watts constant power. But those are a bit out of my price range. I won the Opus. It's a model that is no longer in production, but they can still be had on, I think, Amazon and eBay. It's 600. But what I would really love to do is win one or get one through Opus Help for my mother. At camp, we were having issues with her travel oxygen concentrator, and it turns out it might be the outlets that we were initially using in the cabin, but because she has a long enough hose for her cannula to plug into, The cannula is that little piece that has two little prongs that go into your nose, and then you loop it over your ears, and then you pull up the little tube thing to tighten it so it stays on your face. She has a long enough hose that the concentrator itself can be a couple of 2-3 yards away and still work. And it could be the battery itself, because even if it says it's fully charged, on battery alone, it will not run on all night long. But I think my oldest sister is going to help her look into seeing if it's something with that or the power brick that goes from the machine to the wall, if there's an issue with that. Of course, my mom has, she keeps forgetting to fully charge it before taking it on a trip because, if the power runs out and she has to rely on the battery, it could stop working. So I would love to be able to win a power station with what's called uninterrupted or emergency power supply, where you plug it into the wall, you plug something into it, and then when the power from the grid goes out, that power station just keeps on running and giving juice to whatever's plugged into it. I'd love to win something like that for my mom for her oxygen concentrator. Plus, she also owns a nebulizer that she may occasionally use. My oldest sister uses a CPAP, but she has a new one that is a whole lot quieter than her older one. In fact, I could barely hear it running, and she slept in the same cabin I did. Her older one used to be a whole lot louder, and it would drown out the sound of my mom's oxygen concentrator. I'll just have to keep looking for those opportunities, I guess. Opa's help will give power stations to people who apply for it, who have a situation where backup power is basically life-saving, or someone who has been through a serious disaster and can't get backup power otherwise. So I like that they give back to the community in that way. Yeah, my mom was also possibly needing new hearing aids because the ones that she's been using for several years, she's changing the batteries in there every 2 to 3 days. They don't last very long. But she does like that she can use an app on her phone to monitor the battery status, adjust the volume, things like that. Yeah, she has a hard time manually adjusting the volume because she's getting hand problems now, so she doesn't have the dexterity she used to. I'm just using my spork to get the rest, more of this out of this can. My crackers are all gone. I think that's all I'm going to get out of that. Put the can in the ramen bag. So I'm down to my Rice Krispie treat, my cookies and cream Pop-Tart, and my drinks. my chat didn't, on my tablet didn't scroll. I had to scroll up, but Food Forest Permaculture, thanks for dropping in. This one here, chicken ramen. The potted meat, which is this, but because it contains pork, I chose the Underwood chicken spread, and I put some of it into the chicken ramen. Then there's these Ritz crackers, drink mix, peach mango, that's Dole brand. It said raisin, not raisins. So it's a little box of Sun-Made raisins. This meat stick, and Waffles, who was in here earlier, he looked it up that this Great Value meat stick is pork and beef mix. This potted meat is chicken and pork. So this company, which is no longer a business, they source a lot of these things from Walmart, as you can tell by the Great Value labels. No coffee in here. So I have 3-in-1 coffee. It's the G7. The accessory pack had 2 different kinds of hot sauce, a salt packet, a single lifesaver candy, a napkin, a fork and spoon. That is this bag here. They just put it in a sandwich bag. Plus there is a Purell hand sanitizer wet wipe. And I'm going to put that wet wipe into the first aid kit that I took on my trip to the lake. It will be an option that I had not had in there before. As I mentioned earlier, I also added a pair of metal tweezers to that first aid kit. Because although the card list of contents, it says instruments, but there's nothing of the sort in there, so I figured I'm going to throw a pair of tweezers in there. Pumpkin is going back and forth. What she's after, I don't know. But this is cookies and cream Pop-Tart. They're fused together. And they're probably going to fall apart even more than they already are. The potted meat and the meat stick will get passed on to someone else. And the other unused items will get stashed. I have gallon Ziploc bags full of plastic utensils, so the fork and spoon will go into those bags. I have bags that contain napkins that I've gotten either out of rations or out of meal boxes that I would get when at a meeting where they provide lunch and I don't use it. What I don't use as far as utensils that they may provide, or condiments like mustard, mayo, I bring those home. So I have picked up a good stash because at the Transit Rider Advisory Committee meetings, they're usually putting either lifesavers on the table at our assigned seats, or they sometimes put those little 4 packs of Tic Tacs like you get in Canadian IMPs, or little individual gum packets. I bring all those home, and those will get stored for a later time. I like to store candies like Lifesavers and Tic Tacs because they're not prone to melting in moderate heat like, say, Jolly Rancher. I like the Jolly Ranchers or Starlight Mints or anything like that that can start to melt in a moderate heat. Say like if it's like 90s Fahrenheit, maybe 30 Celsius, they can start to get melt and get sticky. Or things like the Tic Tacs and the Lifesavers, or even those little nerds, or the little Smarties, or in some places they're called Rockets, or the Sweet Tarts, anything like that. They don't have that low melt point. So that's why I like to store candies like that. Of course, what I still prefer them to be in a cool, dry place. Oh, heck yeah. But in the summer when my bedroom gets warmer, because I don't have the airflow into it, I'm not worried about them because I usually keep them inside of something else to offer them even more protection. Of course, in the winter, I do not have heat on in my bedroom. It gets warm enough with the heat that naturally rises from below me and comes from my wall unit, which also does heat as well as cool. I do get heat from that, but my bedroom is cooler than my living room in the winter because it does not get as much of the heat, but I like it that way. I just wish I could have my bedroom cooler than my living room during the summer. But unfortunately, I can't have that here, but at least I don't have wild temperature swings like I would have if I didn't have any power. So that single Lifesavers candy will get put with the rest of them that I have accumulated. That's how I like to do it. And it works, and I'm just going to keep doing it that way. This is my last year on the Transit Rider Advisory Committee, so I was supposed to drop off last year, but because of the transition that's going on with our bus service here, and the fact that we're facing some serious budget issues, now we don't know what federal funding we're going to get because of all the budget cutting that has been going on at the federal level here in the U.S. We don't know what we're going to have to do in order to keep bus service going, because people who don't drive, they come to the city because of bus access. Now, if we can't keep bus service going, then those of us who don't drive, like me, we're going to have to find alternate ways to get from place to place. Start bumming rides from friends and relatives, or dropping a whole lot of coin for services like Uber or Lyft or your regular old taxi. We have had 2 suburbs discontinue service. One has already discontinued. The other this is their final year of contributing to the metro area bus service. So that is going to leave a good number of people without public transit access, and they will have to find some other way to get from place to place. There are a few other cities in Iowa that do have bus service, like Ames, which has a side ride, which is through Iowa State University. And Iowa City has the bus service, which may be partly funded by University of Iowa. And then Cedar Rapids has a few bus routes. Nowhere near what we have here in Des Moines, but there are some. And then there are some short distance intercity services that you have to book like you would for, say, Greyhound, Trailways, Jefferson, or when we used to have Megabus come into Des Moines. We do have those options. We have Amtrak come through Iowa, but you have to travel a couple hours to the nearest Amtrak boarding station. We don't have an Amtrak stop here in Des Moines, which I find quite odd. as of next month, my one sister who has worked for the TSA, Transportation Security Agency, her payments will stop because she is one of those people who was offered continued paychecks if you stop showing up for work, or you get fired and you get nothing. So she was hoping to stick it out for at least a few more years until she can either take early retirement from that and then maybe find another job for a few years until she can draw full Social Security. But she does not lose her IPERS, which is Iowa's version of a pension for government employees. My oldest sister, who works for the school district, will work as a substitute and teacher associate for a few more years till she can draw Social Security. So she will be able to have that plus the IPERS pension that has been building up. But my third sister is currently still on disability from having had to have her foot surgery done twice. I don't know if she's going to try to find another job that isn't so physically demanding. As working in a daycare center, or if she's gonna basically stay on permanent disability. We don't know that. But she has to heal up some more before she can make that decision. And my brother, who is here in Iowa, he recently started working for Home Depot in their, basically, he takes care of their sale plants. They have a nursery area, or, well, not really nursery area, but they have a bunch of potted plants both inside the store and outside. So he couldn't join us for this trip because he hasn't been at that job for all that long, so he couldn't take a whole week time off. So he couldn't celebrate his birthday at camp. But we all grabbed enough mobile data to wish him happy birthday. But it was actually a good thing he was here during one of our recent storms. Some parts of Des Moines had power go out. My mom's power didn't go out. My power didn't go out. My oldest sister's house, their power went out. But it was only for a few hours. And as far as I know, no one that I know, no family members here had basements flooded, but the fairgrounds got like 5 inches of rain, and that has hampered setup for the fair, which starts on the 7th of this month. But this whole week is supposed to be dry so they can finish setup. Vendors are coming in to set up their booths and get their equipment done. Animals are probably starting to show up. And of course, whoever has an entry in the fair parade is in their final prep. But some places had a muddy mess. I collected more water in some of my catch trays. So last time I did any was a little bit before I left last Sunday. And this afternoon I gave Meech a little bit of a drink. But I still have plenty of collected water in other containers. So that I don't have to use tap water for quite some time. Had a few leaves fall on my deck. They went into the compost. I changed out the water that's in my little bird bowl. I'm sure squirrels were drinking out of it too. But that water needed to be changed out, so I did that today. So we're not supposed to have any significant chance of rain. Probably till after next weekend. But middle of the week, it's supposed to go back into the 90s Fahrenheit for a few days, and then after that, back into the upper 80s. So, but the smoke from the Canadian wildfires that was going through here, it was really bad Friday. We really had a bad air day the day we came home from the lake. But the air quality warning basically expired this morning, and then air quality is back into the good range this afternoon. I'll tell you, it really smelled. I could smell the smoke Friday afternoon. And I could smell the smoke at the lake, but I wasn't sure if that was campfire smoke or wildfire smoke because it was hanging so far low down to the ground or down to the water. And my lake pictures look kind of hazy. That's a wildfire smoke. That wasn't fog. I wish I got a better moonshot, but you know, I just have my cell phone to shoot pictures and video with. So in the picture, the moon looked more white, but it was actually reddish. So but it was still pretty hazy. But Friday, you stand outside here, you could definitely smell it. But now other people have to deal with that. I just hope those fires up there get put out sometime soon. I just looked down the chat, and that smoked salmon does sound pretty good. Haven't had a good smoked salmon in quite some time. Down here, just to get a small amount of it, it's very expensive. It's one of those luxuries that I take a pass on. Oh, yes, these Pop Tarts finally decided to come apart. And I hope you really enjoy that smoked salmon, because that does sound good. I didn't have any luck with fishing. I got skunked again. Had a couple nibbles, but I think where I dropped my bait, it landed in where all the thieves hang out. So we had one keeper fish, and we all got to have a little bit of a walleye that we did keep. Yeah, my younger nephew didn't join us either at camp. I guess he had too much going on that he had to deal with. Or my older nephew, that is my younger nephew, and his wife were there. They brought their kayaks. So they had a few paddles. The marina at the lake also has kayaks that you can rent. Now my great niece was allowed to invite the same friend who came last year. And so they even got in the kayaks and had a bit of a paddle. Of course, we had, except for Sunday night, we didn't have a fire Sunday night, but the rest of the nights we did have a fire. We cooked steaks, and that one walleye on the fire. And of course, we had to do s'mores. You know, you got to do that when you're at camp. Of course, the last night you burn every bit of firewood you have. In fact, another couple in our group who rented a tent site, yeah, they got a tent site for a couple nights. They used the fire pit there. But we had rain, but it was overnight when we were all in bed. Going to the lake is one of the few times I actually get to get out of the city for a while. My next opportunity will be the White Eagle Multicultural Powwow, which takes place in the third weekend of September at another county park, Jester Park. That's on another side of the area, not as far away as Lake Icaria. But since I joined the organizing committee for it, I feel like I'm doing more than just doing the kids' crafts. But there is, you can call it like a crowdsourced news network known as Patch Gill of Gray Man Pepper and Camp Patton Family Compound. He subscribes to the patch that is out of his part of Ohio. But anybody can submit events for their event calendar, so I had posted the powwow last year on the Des Moines patch, and I'm going to do it again. I was just waiting for an event logo that I can use. So that was recently generated for the Facebook event and for media publicity. So I can use that. And we also spread flyers around. There are a few more performance slots being filled. I invited a halal food truck owner. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it. He's very interested in it. So he said if that weekend, if he has that weekend free, he wants to do it. So I gave him a vendor form. Guess we'll find out. We're going to have 2 meetings this month. And being that I help do the kids' crafts, I've actually been working on supplies, as is my partner in crime, so to speak. So someone takes me out to Jester Park. And then I immediately go to work with organizing the supplies. And I'll sleep in one of the teepees like I did last year and the year before. The year before that I used a tent, but that tent failed. In fact, it went right into the dumpster. I didn't even bring it home. I kept the stakes and the poles for that tent, and that was it. Now, I do have another tent, but it's a winter tent. I would roast in there, so I would rather not do that. Yeah, I was bothered by gnats last year, but sleeping in the teepee is a whole lot better because the craft supplies can still be in there. I was in there. My partner, who I do the kids' crafts with, she was in there, and we still had plenty of room. And some of the performers would go in there and change into their dance outfits. So that made it handy because it's very near the performance circle. So yeah, that made it pretty handy. And we'll just do that again. I don't know if she'll sleep in the teepee as well, but yeah, I could put my cot in there. I could put my air mattress on there. I can store stuff underneath the cot. So I like that arrangement. But I'm so looking forward to doing that again. Watching kids create with the supplies that we provide. And then there's a candy dance, which is only for the kids to do. And there's story times, performances from different cultures. We have a kung fu demonstration. We have the taiko drummers, the big Japanese drums. We have a hula group. We have some other Asian performances, plus different indigenous American, and we had a Mexican tribal group come up. hoping for some Canadian performers to come down. I think that'll be awesome. But should find out soon enough what our schedule's going to look like. And of course, when I can find time to shoot a few video clips, I will. And I'll take some pictures also. I usually put those up on Facebook. I might throw some up on a YouTube post as well. But any videos I get, I put them up on YouTube. I might not get to monetize all of those depending on if there's a copyrighted piece of music in there, but I leave it. I don't cut that out. If a video gets partial monetization or I share it with the copyright owner, I'm cool with that. If I can't get it monetized, that doesn't bother me either. I just want to get the stuff up. I want to share what I get to see in person. Share it with those who can't come, or just those who are interested in seeing things like that. This last year we dealt with a whole lot of rain. We had to do some minor damage repair because some of the canopies fell down or partially collapsed, and we had to deal with those before we could get things going. We had to clean off the platform that serves as a performance area. But once we got everything put back, dried off, we could get things going. And the rest of the day worked out pretty darn good. But, yep, that's what I'll be doing in September. Probably I won't get to take any more YouTube breaks until next Ramadan. Unless I get invited to go somewhere with someone else who would drive me to said location. So that's the only way I can get out of town, is if I get a ride from somebody. The others I've camped with in the past have had job changes, and they dealt with family losses. And just life stuff has been getting in the way. And plus, we're getting older. But we'll still try to have some fun when we can. And for those who come in late, Friday afternoon, I put up the shorts. I shot short clips of video while I was there, but I just couldn't get enough signal to upload them. Uploading a picture took several hours. That's how bad it was there. And my hotspot really didn't help much. So I just waited till I got home to put up those videos. So I hope you enjoy those. And then I did a garden update video yesterday. I'm picking up on a few other ration reviewers. I've watched some recent videos that have come out within the past couple of days. Steve 1989 did a prototype MRE that was in a box, which predates the brown bag. That was pretty interesting. So definitely check that one out. Just finished off my peach mango drink. The coffee was not included in this one, so I had the G7. That's my favorite instant 3-in-1 coffee. It's in my delicious mug because I broke my Mike Crusher mug. And actually, that one broke into more pieces than my 4-in-MRE mug. I just cracked that, popped the handle off of that one. So I can't drink out of it anymore, but my Mike Crusher mug had to go to the dumpster. So my delicious mug comes out pretty much all the time. I like to get a Germs MRE mug. So maybe one of these months I'll hit on his merch store and buy one. I don't know if Mike Crusher sells his. I wouldn't mind having another one. I cannot find another 4-in-MRE mug. I think no one wants to part with them. So I don't think I can replace that one, but I'd like to get another Mike Crusher mug if I can. Whether or not I'm successful, I don't know, but anyway. I think I'm going to go ahead and call this one good for tonight. I've been on here three hours. I got a little late start because I was having issues with my phone connecting. So I do apologize for that rocky start, but yeah, my tablet was connected, but I had an issue with my phone wanting to connect. But I got it done. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this look at this civilian custom ration from a company that probably didn't hang around very long. And I got this from Mike Crusher in that big old box of awesomeness that he partnered with Elisa of Chester's Corner. I'd like to see her put something up on her channel again. But life has been kicking her in the dupa. But she hooked up with Mike Crusher to get this stuff sent here. So again, thanks to both of them for doing that. That's much appreciated. I got lots more goodies to come. So until the powwow weekend, I'll just keep going at it every Sunday, 7 p.m. U.S. Central. Hope to see all of you and more back here next Sunday for whatever I decide. Thanks for watching and catch you on the flip side.